Shocking truth. Ashamed of her old dress, this billionaire changes everything at 3 a.m. It was a night like no other. Winds howled against glass, as if the world outside sensed the storm brewing within the lavish halls of Elena Masters' mansion. $1 billion empire, yet all it took was a worn-out dress to shatter the illusion. At exactly 3 a.m., the shadows grew restless, flickering under the dim light like trapped spirits yearning for release. A soft creak echoed through the marble corridors, the kind of sound that sent shivers down spines and raised the hair on the back of your neck. Elena, with her raven hair cascading over one shoulder, stood before her massive wardrobe, the ghosts of her past lingering in the air. She ran her trembling fingers over the fabric of a faded blue dress her mother's, a relic from another time, its edges as frayed as her childhood memories. Her heart raced, a tight knot forming in her chest. It wasn't just a piece of clothing. It was a reminder of her roots, an unyielding anchor in the tidal wave of wealth that had swept her away from simpler times. Each thread bore witness to a history she both cherished and resented. In that moment, the air crackled with tension. She glanced into the ornate mirror, catching her reflection framed by diamonds and gold. It felt wrong, like a jigsaw puzzle with a piece that just wouldn't fit. What she saw was not the glamorous billionaire people knew, but a frightened girl drowning in expectations. Her heart raced. Her mind was a storm of thoughts. What if tonight was the night she broke free? She let out a shaky breath, a sense of urgency pulsing through her veins. Just then, a faint sound interrupted her reverie, a whisper of a voice, muffled yet clear. Elena, it echoed gently through the opulent space, wrapping its tendrils around her mind, pulling her in deeper. Was it her imagination? Or was someone in the house? No one was supposed to be awake. The whisper seemed to call her name like a ghost seeking an audience, dancing along the fringes of her reality. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the whisper faded, curiosity ignited within her. The urge to uncover the truth clattered against her ribs, like a caged bird desperate for freedom. She slipped on the old dress, feeling its worn fabric hug her tightly, as if reminding her of her past. With every step towards the source of the sound, her heart thundered louder. Could the night hold secrets far more valuable than diamonds? What awaited her in the shadows? Darkness loomed ahead, heavy with possibility. Elena took a deep breath, her mind racing with unanswered questions, ready to unravel the mysteries that entwined her life. Would she emerge unscathed, or would she find herself lost in the web of her own reckoning? The air thickened with suspense, and the answer lay just beyond the door. The door creaked open just a fraction, as if it had been waiting for her to take the first step. Each inch she pushed it forward felt monumental, like breaking through the thick fog that had clouded her life for so long. The dim light from her nearby chandelier barely pierced the darkness, revealing a room filled with hushed secrets. As she entered, a chill wrapped around her, sending goosebumps cascading down her arms. The sight that unfolded before her was more surreal than terrifying, a study filled with old books and dusty memories. Neither elegant nor extravagant, it was more like a forgotten shrine to her past. The scent of aged leather lingered in the air, mixed with something sweeter and darker that made her stomach twist. Suddenly, a rustle came from the far corner, a figure cloaked in shadows. It moved slightly, and her breath hitched in her throat. "Who is there?" she demanded, her voice trembling more than she intended, echoing in the confined space. The figure remained obscured, but she felt its gaze piercing through the darkness like a laser, zeroing in on her. Elena, the voice carried a haunting familiarity, sending a ripple of recognition through her. It felt like an echo of her past, both gentle and commanding. Was it a trick of her mind? A figment of moonlit hallucinations? Panic began gnawing at her edges, urging her to bolt. But the curiosity, a fierce and stubborn companion, anchored her feet to the floor. "Show yourself," she shouted, though her heart pounded fiercely against her ribs, urging her to retreat. The figure shifted, and suddenly the gasping silence was broken by a gasp of surprise not unlike her own. Out of the darkness stepped a woman, regal yet shadowed by time, and apparition wrapped in years of loss. Elena's breath caught in her throat. "Mom?" The word barely escaped her lips, but the presence felt far too ethereal for comfort. The resemblance was striking, but the years had carved deep lines into her face, a road map of heartache and struggle. Elena, her voice now softer, almost a whisper, held the weight of unspoken truths. "You've grown so much. Is it really you?" Elena stepped forward, desperation clawing at her chest. How is this possible?" The warmth she had always craved, her mother's love, radiated off the ghostly figure, but there was a tinge of sadness that seeped into her bones. "Time is a tricky thing," the woman said. "It can bend and twist, especially for those who are lost." She paused, her gaze narrowing. "You're at a crossroads, my dear. You can't hide from yourself or your past. This dress, this moment, they hold the key." The tension in the air thickened, pressing against Elena. Her heart raced in sync with her mother's words. What did she mean? Was this a warning or a beacon of hope? "What do you want from me?" Elena whispered, feeling the tremors of uncertainty ripple through her. The weight of her mother's spectral gaze bore down on her like the pressure of an oncoming storm, and before she could voice any further questions, the apparition began to flicker, the surrounding shadows deepening, threatening to engulf her. "I can't stay, but you must remember. The truth will set you free, but it might break you first." Elena felt the ground beneath her pulse with an ominous beat as the room began to spin. The walls, once sturdy, felt ephemeral, teetering on the edge of an unraveling reality. She reached out, desperate to grab hold of the fading figure, but she was met with nothing but air and then silence. The room fell still, the weight of her mother's warning heavy in the air. Alone in the dimly lit study, she felt her heart sink, the urgency of what lay ahead a palpable threat. What hidden truths awaited her? With the echo of her mother's final words lingering, one question gripped her tightly: what if the truth was darker than she could ever imagine? As her spirit battled both fear and resolve, she cautiously turned to leave the room, determined yet trembling at what awaited her in the shadows beyond. Elena stepped back into the hallway, the air thick with lingering whispers of her mother's presence. The silence that enveloped her felt suffocating, and she blinked against the dimness, trying to pierce through the encroaching shadows. Each footfall echoed like a whispering ghost, the sound a stark contrast to her racing heart. Heart pounding, she moved through the corridor, the wooden floor creaking as if warning her to stop. Somewhere deep inside, a primal instinct clawed at her, urging her to flee, but she pressed on, uncertainty propelling her toward the unknown. "Remember," the single word bounced around her mind, circling like a predator. The truth. What truth? The query gnawed at her. Would it lead her to closure or to a deeper abyss? As she passed by portraits of her ancestors' stoic faces staring back at her, she felt an unsettling connection. They knew. They had all lived in a tangled web of secrets, and she was now desperately searching for her place among them. Gathering her breath, she made her way to the grand staircase, its banister glistening under the dim light. The house was shifting, alive with echoes of laughter and sorrow, feelings woven into the very fabric of the walls. Just as she reached the landing, she paused, her eyes catching on a faint glow coming from the parlor. Her curiosity piqued, she tiptoed forward, her heart thumping louder with each step. The evidence of life flickered like a flame yearning to be snuffed out. Someone else was awake in the depths of the night. "Elena?" A voice called from the parlor, pulling her closer like a magnet. It wasn't he, her mother's ethereal tone, but something more corporeal, a familiar warmth she hadn't felt in years. Cautiously, she peered inside. There stood Daniel, her childhood friend, the boy who had promised he'd never let her go. He looked older, shadows dashed across his features, but the same spark she had cherished lingered in his eyes. "I was hoping you'd find your way back," he said, his voice thick with unshed emotions. "What are you doing here?" Elena barely found the strength to ask, confusion wrapping around her like a vice. "I came because I heard you were back in town," he said, stepping closer, a mix of relief and something deeper sparking between them. "I had to see you. There is something we need to talk about." Her pulse quickened. What could he possibly know? "What is it?" she pressed, the words tumbling out like stones off her chest. Daniel hesitated, his gaze darting away as if the truth hung in the air, waiting for the right moment to drop like a bomb. "It's about your mother. She left something for you," he finally revealed, voice low and steady, yet vibrating with intensity. Her heart raced at the mention of her mother, already overlapping with her earlier encounter. What did she leave?" Daniel took a deep breath, tension radiating between them. "A letter, with some instructions on where to find everything after her death." "Everything?" The anguish of her past surged, demanding to be confronted. There was no way to turn back now. "Where is it?" "Underneath the floorboards in the study." Elena's breath caught in her throat. She had only just escaped the room, and now it beckoned her back like a siren. Dread tugged at her gut, but the weight of her past was undeniable. "We need to go," she insisted, her voice gaining urgency. But Daniel's protest was cut short by the resonating clash of thunder outside, as if the universe echoed her turmoil. "Now!" she urged, and without waiting for his response, she broke into a run, her heart pounding not only from fear, but with the unknown. What awaited her beneath the floorboards? Hope or heartache? As she raced toward the study, her mind spun with questions, each more urgent than the last. Could she handle the truth? The thought loomed over her like a storm cloud, ready to unleash chaos at any moment. She entered the room again, her determination unyielding. With the flicker of candlelight casting long shadows, she knelt by the corner where the wood curled slightly, and without hesitation, she pried at the edge. What would she uncover? The floorboard creaked as Elena dug her fingers into the crack, prying it open despite her pounding heart. Each splintered sound echoed her anxiety, the darkness of the room looming over her like a weight she could hardly bear. The candlelight flickered, sending shadows dancing around her, warping the familiar space into something ominous. There it was, a thin stack of yellowed paper, nestled in the dusty darkness beneath. Her heart raced as she pulled the letter free, catching a hint of something familiar on its surface, the faint scent of her mother's perfume. The smell was both comforting and gut-wrenching, a reminder of a love she had lost too soon. "Elena, wait!" Daniel's voice slipped through her reverie as she unfolded the brittle paper, his urgency a mere whisper against the thundering rain outside. Ignoring him, she read the first line, her pulse quickening with each word. "To my dearest Elena." The letter unfolded into a tapestry of revelations woven with longing and regret. Her mother had written of secrets hidden within the very walls that sheltered her childhood. Each detail dripped with heartache and a dire warning. "But I left you more than memories," it continued. "Hidden in the garden is the key to understanding the past." A key? What had her mother hidden? Elena's mind raced, absorbing the implications. Her mother had always been cryptic, but this was different. It was a plea for understanding, a roadmap scrawled in her own hand, pleading for Elena to unearth the truth of their family's painful history. "Elena," Daniel said again, his voice breaking through her daze. "You can't just ignore this." "I have to know," she replied, her tone fierce as she folded the letter back, tucking it into her pocket like a lifeline. "I have to find whatever she left." But as she stood, an unsettling feeling gripped her, a prickling awareness that they were no longer alone. The wind howled outside, a mournful sound that felt eerily alive, hammering against the windows in sync with her racing heart. Shadows flickered, merging with the darkness where Daniel stood, confusion etched across his face. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He nodded slowly, eyes narrowing in the direction of the door. Suddenly, the sharp creak of footsteps echoed from the hallway, breaking the silence. Elena's heart dropped. Who else could be here at this hour? Her instinct screamed at her to flee, yet the nagging thought that this could be connected to her mother's truths kept her frozen. "Let us get out of here," Daniel urged, his expression tense, glancing nervously toward the door. But the air thickened, a pulse of foreboding snaking through the room, binding her feet to the ground. With every heartbeat, Elena felt the walls closing in. "I need to stay. I can't leave," she insisted, the weight of generations pulling her deeper into the fray. Just then, the door creaked open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadow. Elena gasped, stepping back, her hand instinctively flying to her chest. "Elena," the figure spoke, voice low and hauntingly familiar. "You shouldn't have come back." Who was it? Her mother's specter? Or something darker? Every instinct urged her to turn and run, but she had to know why she was being drawn into this nightmare. What awaited her now could shatter all she believed or reveal the strength buried inside her all along. The truth loomed ahead, and she was determined to meet it head-on. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice trembling but resolute. The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a face she thought she'd never see again. It was a face that spoke of secrets long buried, ready to be unearthed. What had just walked back into her life? Elena's heart raced as recognition settled over her like a thick fog. The face before her was unmistakable, her mother, or rather, the ghost of the woman she had lost years ago. The room spun as memories flooded back, each one a sharp reminder of their fleeting moments together, of laughter and love, but also of unanswered questions ripping apart the fabric of her childhood. "Mom?" she whispered, barely able to form the word. The figure before her seemed almost translucent, a silhouette of the past intertwined with the present. "Elena?" her mother said again, voice a fragile echo. "You need to listen to me." Daniel shifted uneasily beside her, his presence barely grounding her as the walls pulsed with an energy she could not understand. Fear knotted within her, cutting deeper than any physical threat. "Is this real?" she uttered, glancing nervously at Daniel, who only stared wide-eyed at the apparition. "It is as real as the secrets you're trying to uncover," her mother replied, her gaze piercing through the dim candlelight. "The garden, it holds more than you can imagine. But you must be careful." "Careful? Careful of what?" Elena's voice trembled with urgency. "Why did you leave me?" "Not my choice," the figure whispered, her voice heavy with regret. "Every sacrifice I made was to protect you." The air thickened again, an electric tension wrapping around them like a vice. Daniel's presence faded into the background noise, her focus narrowing onto her mother. "Protect me from what?" The shadows in the room loomed larger, as if emboldened by the tension unfolding. Her mother stepped closer, energy shifting unnaturally. "There are those who will want to keep the truth hidden. They fear what you might find what we buried." The layers of Elena's childhood, those cherished memories mingled with pain, began to converge into a single terrifying thought. "Is that why you died? Because of the secrets?" The figure's expression darkened. "It's not safe here." The garden is the key. I'll guide you from beyond if you promise to listen. Listen to what? Panic surged within Elena. She reached for Daniel's hand, grasping it tightly. What do we need to do? Trust your instincts and trust him. Her mother's ghost gestured towards Daniel, whose brow furrowed, concern blending with disbelief. No, he whispered, trying to pull her back. We shouldn't be doing this. We need to leave. But something tethered Elena to the spectral figure before her, an invisible bond stronger than fear. I can't just abandon this. What if she is right? She turned to her mother, desperation clawing at her throat. What do I do? The room crackled as her mother leaned closer, the ghostly image flickering like a dying flame. Find the key, Elena. Dig deep, whatever it takes. And remember, not everyone who claims to help you is on your side. With that, the figure began to dissolve, melting into shadows like mist evaporating into the night. Mom! No! Don't leave me! Elena shouted, her voice infused with a raw terror that echoed back to her. But all that remained was silence, a heavy blanket falling over them. Daniel squeezed her hand tightly, grounding her. We need to go. Please. I need to find the garden, Elena said, resolve hardening her voice. There is something there, a truth waiting for me. As they approached the door, the world outside felt distant and foreboding. Just as they reached the threshold, a chilling sound filled the air, the unmistakable echo of footsteps approaching from the hallway. Who was coming? What would they uncover next? The haunting was far from over. The true horror had just begun. The footsteps grew louder, each step resonating like a drum in Elena's chest. She glanced at Daniel, whose expression had morphed from shock to a tense readiness. We can't stay here, he urged, his voice barely a whisper. They might be looking for you. Elena's thoughts raced. She could feel the presence of her mother's warning wrapping around her, pulling her toward the door, but also pushing her deeper into the mystery. No, she replied, defiance glinting in her eyes. I need to know what she meant by the garden. Now is not the time. Daniel pulled her back just as the door swung open. A tall shadow loomed in the doorway, and Elena's heart sank. There stood an unfamiliar figure, cloaked in dark clothes, their face obscured. The cold glare of their eyes cut through the haze of her fear. You're not supposed to be here, the stranger said, voice smooth yet menacing. Elena took a step back, but Daniel stepped in front of her, protective yet visibly shaken. Who are you? Daniel demanded, his bravado straining against the tension in the air. The figure chuckled darkly. Just a friend, or maybe an enemy. They shifted, blocking the exit. Your mother didn't want you here, Elena. But maybe it's too late for you to turn back now. Elena shivered. Those words echoed her mother's suspicions. What do you mean? She asked, voice trembling. It means the truth is a dangerous thing, especially when you're looking for it in the wrong places, the figure replied, taking a step forward. You think you can just dig up forgotten memories? The garden is no flower patch. It's a graveyard of secrets. Daniel took another protective stance. You need to leave us alone. We're not afraid of you. But Elena felt fear creeping up her spine, threatening to paralyze her. Maybe we should listen, she murmured, conflicted. Maybe. No! Daniel's voice erupted with conviction. We're done listening to threats. We're finding the truth. The stranger laughed again, a chilling sound that made Elena's skin crawl. Bravery doesn't always equate to safety, boy. There are others who will do anything to keep her from finding what lies buried. They will stop at nothing. And believe me, they won't hesitate to use you against her. Elena's heart raced as she pieced together fragments of the warning. Anxiety clawed at her, and she felt the walls closing in. The ghost of her mother, the cryptic words of the stranger, everything spiraled into chaos. If you know something, tell us, she demanded, a mix of fear and determination surging within her. I need to understand. What is to understand? The figure retorted, their patience running thin. You search for the truth like it's a light to guide your path. But it could lead you straight to your doom. No! Elena shouted, panic gripping her in a cold embrace. I can't lose what is left of my family, not again. I want tea. Daniel turned to her, desperation in his eyes. We can't trust them, Elena. They're here to intimidate us. Let us get out. But the figure lunged forward, slamming the door behind them. Stay, and perhaps the truth will embrace you or it will consume you. The room buzzed with an oppressive energy, a tempest of unspoken threats. Elena faced the cloaked figure, her grip on Daniel's hand tightening, her heart pounding. What do you want? She asked, forcing the words out amidst her racing thoughts. Only what is meant to be revealed and what you're afraid to face, the figure replied, stepping closer. Beneath the panic, a flicker of determination ignited within her. But what truth would that reveal? Suddenly, the lights flickered and went out, plunging them into darkness. A sharp intake of breath echoed around them, followed by a low, menacing whisper. Now you'll see what you've awakened. Elena felt Daniel's hand slipping away, and her heart plummeted. Daniel! She cried into the void. Where was he? Was he caught? The chaos swirled around her, and the chilling realization washed over her. The garden wasn't just a place, it was a battleground. But for whom? And was she too late to save everyone she loved? As the whispers swelled in the darkness, she braced herself for the unknown, every pulse of adrenaline urging her to fight her way to the truth. What would she find in the depths of the garden? Would facing her mother's hidden legacy set her free, or would it trap her in a nightmare she couldn't escape? Elena's mind raced as shadows slithered around her, thickening the air with fear. Daniel! She called again, her voice trembling. The dark figure moved closer, the dull glint of their eyes holding her captive. What did you do to him? She shouted, panic clawing at her throat. The figure's laughter echoed in the oppressive silence that swallowed her words. Nothing yet, but you have to understand, dear Elena. The garden holds secrets far beyond your comprehension. If he has lost to you now, it's only the beginning. She could feel every muscle in her body tighten. The darkness pressed in like a heavy blanket, stifling. She had to resist the overwhelming urge to flee. Tell me where he is. The desperation in her voice surprised even herself. I want to let you hurt him. Let me. The figure stepped into view, just enough for Elena to make out their features sharp, angular, and unnervingly calm. This isn't about me hurting him. It's about you facing the legacy your mother tried to bury. The last word hung in the air, sharp as a knife. Her breath hitched. My mother, what legacy? Ah, the curious little girl who would dig into every corner of her past. You're just like her, a moth drawn to the flame. The figure extended a hand toward her, and a flicker of movement caught her eye. Was it a shadow? Or something more menacing? Elena recoiled. Stay away from me. Then she realized she could hear a faint sound. Breathing? Or was it Daniel's voice in the distance? Her instincts kicked in. Where is he? Tell me. The figure tilted their head, a twisted smile forming on their lips. In the depths of despair lies your truth. Only then will you understand the garden and the role you were born to play. As if on cue, a deafening thud reverberated through the space. The wall seemed to tremble, and Elena could hear the sound of rushing air at door? No, it was the faintest hint of wind. Daniel! She screamed again, voice cracking under the weight of fear and urgency. Enough. The figure raised a hand, and the lights flickered back to life, illuminating the room in a frantic kaleidoscope of shadows. Elena blinked against the sudden brightness, seeing the room now bare, cold stone, devoid of warmth. And then, on the far side, she spotted movement. Behind a thick wooden door, she could see Daniel, bound but struggling, his face twisted in pain and anger. "Elena! Get out of here!" he shouted, desperation lacing his breath. "No!" Her heart ached at the sight of him. "I want to leave you." The figure stepped forward, blocking her line of sight. "If you want him, you'll have to brave the garden. Only the bravest return with their truths, but many are not so lucky." Fear gripped Elena's heart. The garden, the very place that haunted her dreams. Would she dare to enter its depths after learning what it truly meant? But she couldn't let fear rule her. Not now. If Daniel was alive, if there was even a chance to save him, she would fight. One thought burned through her mind. She had to go into the garden. "Take me to him," she demanded, shaking with a mixture of dread and determination. "I'll do whatever it takes." The figure's eyes glimmered with something between amusement and pity. "Bravery or foolishness? We shall see, Elena. We shall see." Then, with a sweeping gesture, they turned, leading her toward the ominous door. Each step echoed like a heartbeat, suspense wrapping around her tightly as she crossed the threshold into oblivion. As they entered the next room, she felt the air change. It was thicker, saturated with the past. She sensed a force pulling at her, almost urging her to look closer, to feel deeper. What awaited her inside the garden? Was it the truth that would liberate her, or something darker that would entwine her in its grip forever? A haunting whisper brushed past her ears as the cloaked figure beckoned her deeper. "Welcome to the Garden of Secrets, Elena, where all truths are buried, even your own." A cold shiver ran down her spine at those words. What lay ahead, and what would she uncover about her family that she had never wanted to know? The path split before her. Two choices to make, each holding the weight of destiny. Would she dare to tread further into the heart of the unknown? Or would the revelation claim her before she had the chance to uncover the truth? The figure stepped aside, revealing a dark archway that led into a garden swallowed by shadows. The scent of damp earth and something sweet, flowery, but rotten, wrapped around Elena like a suffocating embrace. She blinked against the sudden gloom, heart pounding wildly against her ribs. "Choose wisely, dear Elena. The path you take will determine your fate," the figure urged, their voice low and dripping with malice. The two choices ahead of her lay stark. The left path twisted and gnarled, choked with thorny vines. The right path glowed faintly, inviting yet deceptive, as if hiding whispers of sweet temptation. What would it mean to venture deeper into a garden designed for secrets? She clenched her fists, forcing herself to breathe. Daniel was out there, bound and waiting. Each second was a second too late. "Daniel!" she shouted again, her voice reverberating through the air, thickening with tension. "Choose," the figure insisted, a flicker of impatience breaking through their calm demeanor. Dread gripped her as she recalled her mother's warnings about the garden. Evil writhed in its roots, they said. Secrets that could shatter a soul lay buried beneath the vibrant blooms. But she couldn't let fear dictate her next step. In a surge of adrenaline, Elena shot forward, taking the left path, the one that twisted and turned like a dark snake. Thorny thickets reached out, grazing her skin, tugging at her clothing as if trying to hold her hostage. She grimaced at the pain but pressed on. Time was slipping away, and every ounce of strength urged her to reach Daniel. "Why do you fight?" the figure called, their voice trailing behind her. "The truth will always find you, whether you seek it or hide from it." "I'm not afraid of the truth," Elena yelled back, her voice trembling but defiant. "Not when it comes to saving him." The trees closed in around her, their gnarled branches curling like fingers ready to ensnare her. A glance back showed the figure lingering in the shadows, watching her with tightened lips and narrowed eyes. But ahead, the darkness parted, revealing a clearing bathed in an eerie glow. The air shimmered with a strange energy that pulled Elena closer. In the center stood a massive statue, half buried in earth and ivy, an ancient guardian of forgotten tales. Its eyes were opalescent, reflecting her doubt and her determination. "Step closer, Elena," a voice echoed from within the statue, beckoning her. It vibrated through her bones. "I hold the key to your past and your future." Frozen, she swallowed hard. This was no mere statue. It was a vessel of truth, perhaps the very thing her mother had feared. Was she ready for what it might expose? Yet in her heart, she could still feel Daniel's presence, his fear, his fight. No, she wouldn't back down. "Tell me," she shouted, stepping boldly toward it. "Tell me what you know." Suddenly, a gust of wind howled through the clearing, slamming the ground before elevating the fallen leaves. The world spiraled, the whispers of secrets filling her ears. She shut her eyes, clenching her teeth against the force surrounding her. Then, like a rush of bile, echoes of memories flowed into her mind, her mother's terrified eyes, the unanswered questions, the scars of a past she did not fully comprehend. Each flash was a blow to her heart. The whispers grew louder, climbing into a crescendo of agony. "Remember," echoed a voice, her mother's voice. "You were never safe," Elena gasped, falling to her knees, overwhelmed by the torrent of revelation surging through her. Could she truly handle the reality that loomed just beyond the veil of shadows? With dread tightening around her heart like the strangled vines, she squeezed her eyes shut. "Please show me." The statue shimmered, the pulse of energy drawing her closer to the truth. What had her mother tried to protect her from? What lay dormant beneath her skin? As the air thickened with anticipation, a creaking sound split the silence. A door was opening. But was it a door to answers, or one that led to even darker mysteries? Elena's pulse raced, breath quickening. Would she uncover her family's dark legacy, or would this be the end of everything she thought she knew? With the sound echoing like a heartbeat, she steeled herself for whatever horror or revelation lay behind that door. The door creaked open, revealing a swirling miasma of darkness beyond. Elena hesitated, heart thundering in her ears, but the pull of the unknown was too strong to resist. Shadows beckoned her close, swirling like an angry tempest, and she realized they weren't just shadows, they were memories, fragments of a life she didn't fully remember. As she stepped beyond the threshold, a chill raced up her spine. The air felt thick, as if it carried the weight of unspoken histories. Elena stumbled into a dimly lit corridor, lined with portraits that seemed to watch her every move. Faces twisted in anguish, mouths parted in silent screams. Each painting was a snapshot of despair, souls trapped and tormented, their gazes pleading for release. "Daniel," she called again, desperation clawing at her throat. "Where are you?" No reply. Only the echo of her voice, swallowed by the darkness. With each step, the whispers rose again, louder this time, circling her like a hungry pack. Secrets long buried pressed against her mind, urging her to remember the past. Suddenly, an image crashed into focus, a young girl, eyes wide with fear, clutching a tattered doll. It was her. Memories, like shards of broken glass, splintered through her consciousness, slicing through the fog. "Mom?" she whispered, a name that felt foreign on her tongue. "Foolish girl," a voice hissed from a flickering shadow. "You think you can change the past?" Stumbling backward, Elena felt the coolness of the stone wall at her back. "What do you want?" she shouted, fear scraping against her insides. A figure emerged from the shadows, a woman draped in spiderwebs of dark elegance, her eyes smoldering like embers. "I want nothing. You are the one who seeks the truth." Elena swallowed hard. "Tell me then. What happened to me? To my family?" The woman smiled, a grimace that split her face into unsettling angles. "Oh, dear child, the truth is a beast that gnaws at the soul. Are you prepared to face it?" "I'll do anything to save Daniel," Elena vowed, her voice steadier than she felt. The woman tilted her head, considering. Very well, follow the echoes. With that, the corridor shifted, the walls rippling like water. Elena felt a pull, a beckoning that drew her forward. She ran, breath hitching in her throat, desperate to escape the dark woman's gaze. Each doorway she passed whispered of sorrow, tales of betrayal, of choices that shattered lives. Flickering glimpses offered fleeting scenes. A family torn apart, a mother as sacrifice, a man consumed by vengeance. And through it all, Daniel's face pushed through, his eyes filled with fear, but also resilience, a reminder of what she was fighting for. Bursting into another chamber, the world around her shifted once again. There stood a pedestal, a small chest resting atop it, adorned with intricate carvings that glowed faintly. An irresistible urge surged through her veins, compelling Elena to draw closer. "What is this?" She spoke softly, as if not to awaken whatever might dwell within. "Open it," the woman urged from somewhere behind her, her voice a soft caress tinged with menace. "Let the truth out." Trembling, Elena reached for the chest, each heartbeat echoing like thunder in her ears. What dark secrets would pour forth? What burdens would she have to shoulder, and would Daniel still be waiting when it was over? With a deep breath, she lifted the lid, and the world erupted into chaos. Light exploded outward, seeping into her skin, igniting every ounce of fear and hope within her. The shadows twisted, wailing in protest. But in that moment, she couldn't think of the danger. She could only think of Daniel. As everything spiraled into blinding brilliance, a chilling realization struck her: this could change everything, or shatter it completely. What would she discover in the blinding light? Would she be ready for the truth, or would it consume her whole? Her heart raced as reality splintered around her, leaving only the promise of an unknown reckoning. The light dimmed, swirling around Elena like a mist that clawed at her mind. In that moment of brilliance, thoughts swirled frantically, memories racing to break free from their binds. And then, she found her center, her heart echoing with a singular focus: Daniel. As the brightness faded, the dark figures dissolved into soft shadows, revealing a landscape of memories. The air brimmed with echoes of secrets, wrapping her in a familiar warmth, the way her mother had embraced her when she was scared as a child. Suddenly, the darkness split. There, in the center of a clearing, stood Daniel, still bound but alive. Relief flooded through her. "Daniel!" she shouted, racing towards him, every blurred worry falling away. "Get away, Elena." He struggled against his shackles, his voice hoarse. "It's a trap." The shadows recoiled, tempers fueling around them, as a chill wind swirled, threatening to drag her back. But she wouldn't turn away now. Not when he needed her. She rushed forward, undeterred by the haunting force swirling around them. "I'm not leaving you." With a swift movement, she pushed the chest toward the darkness, like a flare piercing through the fog. "You don't own the truth anymore," Elena cried. The chest erupted in light again, illuminating the space around them. "What did you find?" he gasped, eyes wide with hope and fear as she found the key to his binds and unlocked his chains. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "Let us get out of here, quickly." But as she touched him, the energy shifted. The dark figure reappeared, cold and formidable. They steadied themselves like a looming storm. "You think you won? The truth is still within reach, and it will seek you both." And in its words, shadows coiled tightly around Daniel, pulling him back. "Leave him alone," Elena screamed, stepping between them, her heart hammering. The chest pulsed with potential, and for insights buried deep, she held it like armor. "If you want the truth, face me." "Just let him go." The dark figure hesitated, a flicker of hesitation wavering in their eyes. The air hung heavy, vibrating with tension as silence bore down, almost ready to break. "You think you can withstand the truth?" The figure snarled, morphing into a fearsome visage of her mother's face, twisted in pain. You cannot escape your lineage. But Elena stood tall. I won't let you use my mother's pain against me, she shouted, the strength of her conviction vibrating through the air. Make me remember, but you will not destroy what we have. In that moment, she felt an echo of her mother's strength surge through her. Courage thickened the air, wrapping around them like a force field. The figure faltered for a heartbeat, just long enough for Elena to draw strength from within. You can't tether me to the past anymore. Suddenly the chest erupted once more, pouring forth blinding light. From the shadows, she saw it shift a path taking shape, glowing brighter, beckoning them away from the darkness. She grabbed Daniela's hand, their pulse synchronized as they dashed toward it. Run! They cried in unison, weaving through the chaos until they burst forth from the storm, escaping onto the lightened path. The overwhelming energy screamed through the shadows, consuming the dark figure in return. They reached the edge of the garden of verdant lushness, bursting alive, flowers blooming from the remnants of despair. With every step, memories began unfolding, a tapestry of love, loss, and hope weaving into life. Elena took a deep breath, inhaling fresh air, the scent of earth and flowers filling her lungs. She looked back, knowing they had outmatched the shadows. You are free, she breathed, looking at Daniel. Together, he whispered back, a spark igniting between them. What happens now? I don't know, she said, a mixture of joy and sorrow swirling, but that was okay. We start anew. Together, we can weather any storm. And as they stood hand in hand, the garden transformed into a sanctuary bathed in sunlight. The darkness lost power, their whispered secrets fading into echoes, and for the first time, the weight of her mother's legacy shifted. The truth, no longer something to fear, became a gentle understanding of who they had been, and who they could yet become. The world ahead was bright, full of promise. They moved forward, hearts open to the adventure that awaited, ready to embrace the unknown beyond the garden's edge. There would be trials ahead, but this was their journey now together. The past was a piece of them, but it wouldn't define their future. Just as the sun broke through the horizon, they stepped into their new dawn. Before they could take their first full step, Elena felt a pulse of energy surge from the chest, a strange final reminder of the battle they won. She glanced back, the shadows dissolving, and with it, a silent promise echoed. The truth would set them free, and they'd never look back again. You need to subscribe now to journey with us through the next exclusive stories that await. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, so we can keep bringing you these incredible tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this mind-blowing conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic ending. Your support is everything. Thank you for being part of this adventure.